Hello and welcome to Hardcast, where you will join us for some deja vu as we now read the whole Unity story from Eric's point of view. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I'm Christian Claus, and that rhymed.
Exactly. Lifeline. Give me Exo Manowar Volume 5. Alright, Chris. Well, if you remember last time, I was asking you if there was any confusion when you were reading Unity Volume 1.
Yeah.
Did you understand what I was referring to reading this one?
Yeah, I understand that one fight scene that they had inside the ship when it was in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand what you meant, yeah.
But you're right, though, with that in Unity, it didn't feel as disconnected.
No, not at all.
So, but I have to say, the rereading this is like, this really felt kind of like, oh man, I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, well, reading this, definitely you were missing stuff.
So,
like, I mean, I if we had read this first, I mean, obviously we didn't because that's not how you're supposed to read it. But yeah, if we had read this, only this, I would have no idea what was going on.
So it's really weird. We start off with Ninjak like captured by Eric and like, what?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, which kind of, I mean, part of that just kind of made me feel like, I don't know, this comic felt like you should have been reading you should have been reading the comics one after another.
There is a reading order, and I was considering that for this, but I was thinking it might be like a bigger episode then. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, that's what I mean. It's just that why didn't they just then bundle it like that, you know? Like why don't they just bundle the comics in that order then? I mean, it doesn't matter how they brought them out, but if they make them into a bundle, then you can just call it the Unity War bundle and have it like a special thing and say it includes, you know, Exo Manowar and then whichever the other one was, the
Unity.
What was this? Yeah, it was Special Unity. Yeah. So I mean, that's why I just don't understand. It's like, why can't that just be a thing then?
Well, I guess it's like a labeling issue, I guess. Like not that that's the most important part, but
yeah, I know. But I mean, my thought is just, yeah.
No, but they kind of tried out with these deluxe editions that they've been doing them for a while, but I recently got a hold of them from the Humble Bundle, where they actually do take like the Armor Hunters one that we're going to get to eventually. So I haven't read it yet, but that includes everything related to the event, including the actual comic book called Armor Hunters, the Exo Manowar issues that deal with it, and like all the tie-in books.
Okay.
So that's like one. I mean, it's very expensive. But that way, I want to do my what's it called now I can do the voice. The guy from Doug. Very expensive.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyways, no, but but I'm not sure about the reading order in there yet. I haven't actually opened up the PDF. But if they're smart, well, I don't know about smart, but it would be cool then if it's like organized in the way of like, you know, chronological order. So it's not about like reading one volume first and then reading it again from another angle, but like, okay, this is like the order to read it.
So is this like a tradition or like a thing that Valiant does a lot then, where they have this big event and then they do the same story again from different character perspectives?
Well, in this case, I guess this would be like a mini event. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but this is like the second time this has happened. And you're just now talking about another time where they have these different perspectives.
Well, it won't really be the same thing, because I don't want to spoil them with Armor Hunters. Because I think they're a little bit smarter there in terms of how they portray it, or like their use of the comic books that are telling the stories. So I'm not. I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Again, not that it's like, you know, the big. What's called? Well, actually, I can just say that basically this main story of Exo Manowar is put slightly on hold for a volume, and they're using that comic then to tell a different story that sets up Armor Hunters.
Okay.
But then the actual comic book that they released that's called Armor Hunters, just like with Harbinger Wars, that's basically Exo Manowar, like the continuation.
All right.
So it's not like a repeat, it's more about using them differently in a sense.
All right, well, we'll see when we get to it.
So yeah, again, I'm looking forward to it because it was a lot of fun, I remember. But would you, like, having read it though, would you have preferred us, like if I had made sort of like follow the reading list and you had like both at the same time? Or do you think it went well as we did?
I don't know. I mean, I think, how should you say it? It's just, because I'm kind of wondering, because we're reading them in volumes, and that's a little bit different from how they were released, right? So I'm assuming they released the first issue of the Unity volume at the same time, or around the same time they released the first issue of Exo Manowar Volume 5.
So yeah, I assume it's the same month, I did believe. So like they released like four times, I think, a month, like every Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I think it's kind of unfair from our side to kind of say, okay, we're going to read the bundle, and then we are not going to, and then we're going to read the other bundle, and then we're going to assume that they come together. I think in future episodes, it might be better to read them, like if there's going to be like this crossover where it goes across multiple volumes, that we then decide to read issue 1 of that volume, and then issue 1 of the next volume, and then issue 2 of the first volume, and then issue 2 of the second volume, and that kind of stuff. Because I think there would be much more to talk about in our episodes, because everything that we talked about in the last episode, we can talk about again in this episode, because it was essentially the exact same thing.
That's true. There's very few like new things to discuss about, though of course that makes it easy to focus on too. Yeah,
exactly. But so I think, instead of making like one really long episode that would go over 2 hours because we do 2 volumes at the same time, we do like we do like an event podcast where we then do one half of the volume. So we do like up until volume 3 of each issue 3 of each volume, and then we do the last 2 in the next podcast, or the next episode, the next part, so to speak. Because right now, the way I'm reading it is, as I said, I read the entire story through, and then I read the story through again. But I mean, especially with this one, I mean, with the other ones that we did with the, I guess the Harbinger Wars one, that wasn't that bad, because there was a lot of other stuff that was in that issue from Harada's point of view. It was much more intense of like learning about him as a character. But here we're not learning about any specific character. We're just seeing, so to speak, the other side of the story, and it's very boring because it's not coherent in this volume, because we're jumping a lot between timelines or between like parts of that story. So like when we were reading the last volume, the Unity one, that was fine because it was a coherent story start to finish. But here's like, okay, where is it important that we find out what happened from Exo Manowar's point of view? So let's just talk about that. It doesn't matter that they don't connect at all. It's just like, all right, let's do this, and then it's done. So I gotta say, I wasn't like too happy about this volume, just because again it jumped around too much. I felt like it was just 5 separate stories that had, I mean, they were interesting in themselves. I mean, I love that whole fight between what's his name? Volo, that's the one, yeah. Between Volo and Eric. I mean, that was very interesting. It was a nice character moment. It was very well illustrated. But I felt like it didn't have anything to do with the Unity War. So I would have preferred to read issue 1 and then issue 1, issue 2, issue 2, and so on. So yeah, if something like that happens again, we can just kind of create like this, like a crossover podcast where we then, do a crossover between 2 volumes, and then, or multiple volumes, however many of you have, and we talk about the chapters maybe singularly or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's again, that does sound like a good idea. And as you said, it's like the volumes are more of a collecting organizational issue.
Yeah.
So, but as you said, and you're absolutely right. These were published, so not coherently. That's not the word, but well, they were published together.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be like 1 week we got Unity issue 1, and then issue whatever it was of Exo Manowar next week. Exactly. And then next month it was So yeah, sure, no, that's what's called. Well, keep it in mind for whenever it will happen again. I think it will. Mm-hmm. So if nothing else, like I said, the big event coming up, but that's a little bit more assuming it. Since it's an event, so they want everything to kind of tie.
Yeah, of course.
So, but that's, that's pretty much how I kind of felt as well reading it now, because it wasn't fresh.
Mm-hmm.
There were things I liked, as you mentioned, and like with what's called Eric and Bolo,
mm-hmm.
as well as you got a little bit more, what would the word be? Well, yes, a little bit more detail into like Arik in this. Like, I love when he finally gets the armor back.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it's a lot of telling and not showing, but it's just kind of nice having him basically admit defeat in a sense, or like compromise.
Yeah.
Like, because I've loved this whole, like, it's what's made him so interesting, that he is still this barbarian, like, literal one. And he's just trying to, like, get back what he had. But to kind of have him basically be, I get it. I can't get what I had, so let's move to Nebraska.
Right.
And the fact that, as in, like, his wife, well, no, not his wife, but his girlfriend, I guess now.
Lover.
So, yeah, exactly. But then saying, like, like, is this, what's it called? Is this Dacia? No, but it's home.
Yeah.
I like that, because it's this compromise, and something that I believe in a lot, compromise.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, it showed a very nice part of him that I was also very, made him also a much nicer character to me personally, that I kind of enjoy him now more.
Exactly. He's had an arc.
He's had an arc.
The character arc. All right. So, but
can you? I mean, just to interrupt very quickly, because I kind of came across that page again. Can you explain to me what that thing in his hand is?
Depends. Which one are you referring to now?
The
in interrogation.
Well, because he cut open his hand and it looked like the suit was underneath it.
That's a seed for what's called the event coming up.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with? Can I?
Sure. Theorize.
Well, no, not theorize, but it's kind of like because the next episode that you will be hearing after this episode is a special bonus episode, which we're going to be recording after we finish recording this, and I read a little bit about who the Exo Manowar was in the 90s. And does that have anything to do with what was discussed in that?
Not exactly. They do go a different way, but I know what you're referring to now.
Because they also, one thing, they mentioned something about a seed. I mean, the Harbinger seed or whatever.
I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, but there was also... because that's what kind of made me kind of think about it, because they also, I mean, we can discuss this in the bonus episode that should be coming out then a couple of days after this episode comes out. But because I'm kind of thinking like, okay, is it maybe that arm? Because I guess that character, I think they've renamed him in the like new version, but he didn't trust him so much, so he gave him like an arm of the suit, which should then kill him if he ever betrayed him. So I was kind of thinking that maybe it had something to do with that, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, but that's an interesting thing, because again, I didn't consider that. I just thought when I saw that they had that on Comixology, the book that we're going to be talking about later, I thought it'd be neat to kind of get like an impression of this like summary.
Yeah,
I wasn't considering that you were gonna like find kind of a connection already here for this podcast, and that's interesting though.
Yeah.
Again, and the thing is, I don't want to spoil, so you're not like
Well, no, I mean
entirely wrong, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like it is the concept. The concept's revisited.
Yeah, well, don't spoil me, because again, I want to kind of experience this like the people who read it for the first time experienced it. So obviously, for me, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, okay, that's probably something that Humphrey could explain to me. So I ask in the sense of, have I missed something, or
no, you
have
haven't
I
missed
not
anything,
gotten to
no,
it yet?
no.
Okay, all right. So yeah,
I can tell you this much. I can tell you this much.
Okay.
The next Exo Manowar volume is called Prelude to Armor Hunters.
Okay.
So it's basically like, so this whole thing here immediately goes into that.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right.
So, and then we'll see about that, what that's all.
All right.
So, but yeah, no, it's cool to see. But speaking of just kind of like that scene, and well, not necessarily just that scene, but thoughts on Capshaw?
Capshaw is
the woman, the Colonel?
Yeah, the
Colonel
woman,
Capshaw?
Colonel Capshaw, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds right. See that alliteration there.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Capshaw, we can't promote you. You won't be illiterate anymore.
She feels very, oh God, what's her name? Oh, I was just watching a video about it. Oh my God.
Like a character?
Yeah, a character. She seems very much like the Suicide Squad.
Oh, what's called? Oh man, yeah, Amanda Waller.
Amanda Waller, thank you very much.
And in terms of her character, not appearance, I'm hoping.
No, well, no. I'm just thinking more like, yeah, like her character. Like she's this army lady who knows what she wants, and she's not intimidated by these big men with superpowers or like a super suit or whatever. And also just the way that she kind of also deals with Eric, like the whole thing about when she struck that deal with them going to Nebraska, she also did have some of her own like gain in mind. So it's not like she's just being a nice person. She can be nice all she wants, but it's always because of some greater good in that sense. Like, immediately when she came, it's like, look, you got your things, and now I'm here to ask for your side of the deal. And if you don't give me that deal, I'm going to kill everyone. And you kind of feel like she would. And that's why I kind of think a lot Amanda Waller when I see her, or when I kind of read her dialogue.
No, but you're right. That's actually very
no-nonsense lady.
So she don't need no man, except Arik, I guess. She needs him.
Yep. So she's the one who can neutralize the enemy.
Yeah, but I think that's the part of it. And I wasn't thinking of that myself, but you're absolutely right. It is an apt comparison. Especially also with the whole, I guess, leverage is the word.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I agree with her with a lot of things in it. Like, it's very pragmatic and I guess realistic the way she treats the whole scenario. As she kind of tells him to, keep it to yourself. No point having them live in fear.
Yeah.
But still, he has this whole kind of, I don't know. I can just kind of see that on Arik there in the art, just kind of like, just having to keep that to himself. Like, oh yeah, by the way, all your people are under constant threat, basically.
Yeah.
And now you have to do whatever I tell you. So I don't know. She's an interesting character. I really like her.
Does she then appear again? Or?
Yeah, she's she's a supporting character, not like a one-off.
Okay. Oh, cool.
So let's see. I had this as a little point here. It might not be as interesting as I thought when I wrote it, but with Valiant, they've always kind of had this idea of it's the world outside your window, and and again, of course, now with superheroes. But with this, like with what happened in Unity, and what happened, again in Exo Manowar. It's kind of like very clear that something's happened and, there's like a political problem going on.
Yeah.
It's not the world outside our window anymore in the Valiant universe. So, and I'm not like asking you, do you feel betrayed because they said so? But do you feel like, is it better or worse off for that? Like, did it lose something by not having it be able to perfectly reflect what we have? Like now it's going to be like its little alternate timeline.
Yeah, well, I mean, it always was this alternate timeline because there's certain things in this world that are different to ours. I mean, like these superheroes or these whatever you would call it then, I guess.
Yeah, but it's kind of like what I sometimes call like a shadow history.
Yeah,
Because
but
it's like in DC and Marvel, they kind of like, okay, these, like Vandal Savage.
yeah.
I mean, we don't have a
how,
Vandal
like,
Savage.
yeah, or Batman flying with the pilots in World War One or something like that. It's these kind of things where I think they started from the same place, if you know what I mean. Like when they started this, they could say like, okay, what's going on in the world right now? What can we put into this comic? The problem is, the world in our life changes in a certain way depending on the forces that like kind of, well, because of the things that happen here. I mean, the world has changed when Trump became president. The world changed when, these different things happened in Europe, the crisis with all the refugees and stuff like that. And they probably used all of this stuff in the comic, but they have to realize, or they have realized by changing it, that because there are superpowers here, it changes the way things would have happened.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So they can't like the crisis between the Crimea crisis or the Crimea whole thing that happened.
It wouldn't surprise me if actually this whole like unity was kind of inspired by that.
Well, from a timeline, do you think
actually
the
when did that
Crimean
happen?
crisis already happen?
When did that happen?
Wasn't it like 2013?
Yeah, but this would, because this started 2012 and it's been running for a while, so it would have been in 13
Okay.
then.
Okay.
So it would have
that's
been
what I mean
in
is
some way at least relevant, I guess.
Yeah, well, also because the Russians were also very prominent in this whole unity crisis. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is like right here is that what would they have changed if they suddenly had these armored vehicles or those alien ships? Like, what would Russia have done with those things? And that's kind of an interesting question or something like that. And then, of course, America would be like, well, look, come on, we have to get our nuclear deterrent, so to speak, which is now the Manowar suit and Eric. So now they have this thing, and now there's a whole different kind of nuclear,
arms race.
like a Cold War thing, like an arms race kind of thing. And that's what I think is interesting. I mean, they literally just did this in that end of that volume, where they had Eric go and destroy the alien ship so that the Russians can't get to it, get the technology off of that. And all that kind of stuff also then determines on like who could become president, because certain presidents would have to then say, look, I'm going to take a harder stance against Russia. Maybe someone like Trump couldn't have become president in this world because of his, or the way that he kind of deals with Russia. I mean, if the most Americans think like, no, they're starting to build a new army, we can't be lenient with Russia, so that we're not going to vote Trump. So that's what I mean, is that you have this starting off point with Valiant, and I think they did that well, or they did that valiantly.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that they started at the same point, but then it has to diverge because certain events in the comic will change the world's history. Not in the same way that it changed for us. So yeah, this is a parallel world. It has to be a parallel world because we don't have these people here.
So,
but I like it. I mean, I still feel that this comic is more rooted in like real life than like DC or Marvel.
So far there's no fictional country, I think. No Latveria.
Yes, there is.
Which one?
Wasn't that the whole, because they had that whole refugee thing as well, right? Didn't they? in one of the early comics. I can't remember which one it was, but because I remember we talked about it because I told you, because you even mentioned it in some other episode. I mean, maybe we'll do some. We'll let you know next episode if we just look through some of the old episodes. But I'm pretty sure that we had this discussion because you said, because they made a fictional Istan kind of country.
Oh, did
Istan ending country.
Might have been Bloodshot because they had a real life thing with the whole Syria.
Yeah, right.
That was a real life thing.
But didn't they assassinate some sort of president?
Yeah, but that I think was in that like one of the Bloodshot volumes.
Yeah, but they assassinated the president of a fictional Middle Eastern or like one of those Eastern Bloc countries, and you were talking about that because we talked about this we had this conversation before where you asked, because they have this whole, it's the world outside your window thing, and you were talking about the whole can we change?
Yeah, I can't remember the specific like instance of it, but I remember the conversation now.
Yeah, right. Because then I was telling you that they have to change, they have to make that fictional country because they can't assassinate the president of a real country in a comic because that would just be,
But that's what's going to be interesting because again, I guess this is a bit of a plug for Valiant, but it won't do them any good because by the time you guys hear this, the sale's over. But currently there's a sale this weekend on Comixology for some of their trades. Not their most recent ones, unfortunately, so no Britannia for me yet. As well as not, the latest Ninjak and stuff, but, I'm still getting a lot of good stuff.
Well, just as a little plug for ourselves before you plug Valiant, if you do want to keep up to date with all the Valiant news that we find, you can visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/Valiant Hardcast, I think it was, right?
Yes.
And you can get all the new info. I'm assuming, Humphrey, you put the sale on there too?
Yes, I did. So, said about what I'm planning on it.
Yep, and we'll also probably put the link because there was has it been a new Valiant Humble Bundle?
So, which is over now, so.
It's over now, yeah, okay, shame. But yeah. All right, well, plug Valiant for their little
Yeah, but I just wanted to mention, because I'm kind of behind, because they have this one comic called Divinity that came out a few years back, so which I did read. But then last year they came with Divinity 2. I bought the first issue when it came out, and then just a lot of things were going on, and I kind of lost track of the comics. And they're at Divinity 3 now. And that's like just a whole Russian thing. Including, that was a big thing. It was on some news outlets with the first issue of Divinity 2, because it ends with what's called seeing Putin.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, again, it is still our world. Nothing's happened to Russia that would mean that Putin wouldn't be in power.
Yeah.
So, and that's as far as I got there, so I don't know what else happens. But also, it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm curious then, what are they doing? Because it's not that you can't make fun of him or do something with him. But it's one of those things kind of like with that game that I think they actually made a new one recently, but the Homefront, I think it was called a while back.
Yeah.
So with like the North Koreans taking over America.
Oh, yeah.
Originally it was supposed to be China. But they were basically, again, this is just hearsay, but basically they were kind of like very strongly urged to change because, well, dude, China's kind of an ally here and we have a lot of economic ties.
Yeah, of course.
Regardless of logistics, it's just kind of like, are you going to show them as their enemy and then have a whole game shooting down Chinese?
Yeah.
So, North Koreans are a lot better. Because no one will believe they could actually do it.
Right.
But also something I came to thinking about was that the Hillary Clinton issue of Faith.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually did read that, I was curious. It was nice, just some pandering in that sense, what's called like anyone would, they very clearly who they would vote for.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where I'm curious if they mention it in the comics now. Because I found it kind of funny because I was watching Legends of Tomorrow on Netflix.
Yeah, because you have Legends of Tomorrow on Netflix in Sweden.
So, yep. But I was like really kind of way off because it was the last episode of like a 4-part crossover thing with like Arrow and Flash.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So it's like so Legends of Tomorrow was like the last part of the crossover. But they kind of showed who the president of the United States is right now in their universe.
Yeah.
And it's it's a black woman.
Okay.
And again, it's not, it's its own like universe now, obviously, based on what we've seen of the CW verse. So it's not the world outside our window.
No.
But I don't know, it just kind of feels like, was that like planned from the very get-go, or is it supposed to be like a very purposeful, like, look, this is what we have in our world?
No, I mean, you kind of also have to think that you consumed it after the Trump, becoming president thing. But they wrote this months ahead of time. I mean, you always have to remember that these things aren't like, it's not like South Park that they're produced within a week, So these shows, they take months and months. I mean, not just the filming itself doesn't take that long, but like
the planning and the preparation.
Yeah, all the planning and the writing. I mean, they probably wrote the script like a year before it actually aired. But I mean, TV shows always want to do these kind of statements, and it's a good thing too. I mean, you have so many female and African American presidents in TV shows that it's just, I mean, you can't even count them anymore. I mean, just try 24. I mean, that was just constantly female president, black president. Huh?
Yeah, no, so I just remember I showed you that the Mad Magazine thing.
Oh, I can't remember.
It was like it was before Obama, so it was kind of amusing because they were talking about it like it would never happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like this whole thing. 24 is all good and show stuff, but didn't you notice something really inaccurate? The president's black. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like the rest of the cast didn't realize either, because this is what it really would be. And they just showed all this like silly little panels, like with caricature of the actor playing the president there, going through all this bullshit.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later, it's like, oh. Anyways, yeah. But I think that's about like it in that sense. I was just curious, like how you saw it on that way, and I think I agree with you. I mean, obviously, unless you want nothing special to happen in the show or like in the series,
yeah,
like if everything always comes back, which can work with some shows, like if it's like a kind of like a secret thing. Like if you take something like I don't know, if you take something like Men in Black, that's just the first thing I came to thinking of. The whole idea there is, of course, to keep the existence of aliens hidden for the humanity.
Right.
So even if, they'll show that, oh yeah, these people were aliens, these famous people, for us, it wouldn't change,
Yeah.
We'd just be ignorant, even if it was like the real world.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here, again, even like with what's called the second EXO Manowar volume, when he like lands, well, actually in the ending of the first one, actually, when he crash lands in Rome. I mean, that's, of course, you can't really hide. Obviously, everyone was filming that, and it was a news event.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still kind of like, I guess, isolated enough that it could be kind of like, I guess it was some weird, like, thing that fell,
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, I'm sure you could spin it.
Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, especially not in our world where... Because, I mean, people would be live on Twitter, live on Facebook, live on Periscope or whatever there else is where you can be live now. They would be constantly filming them. That's one of the great things about the internet, is that everyone has this immediate access to show stuff, so you can really see undoctored footage of any event, basically. So again, I mean, you don't even have to like try to hide it, because as soon as something crash lands in a city like Rome, everyone will have their phone out and be live on Twitter.
True, considering also filming. Like the tourists there, who will have their like phones already out before every other Italian takes out their phone from their pocket.
Yeah, I guess.
So no, but I get what you mean. No, you're right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not, and especially then with the whole like war thing that they have here. where he's fighting in Romania. I mean, that's immediately everywhere. And they even said it in the comic, didn't they? Like the whole thing that everyone knows it and everyone's watching or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
So, well. So, no, but again, it's just an interesting talking point, and I think, we got a good talk out of it, so. But, yeah, but that's like with the Harbinger War tie-ins, we've kind of gone through the main story, so, and I think we pointed out most of the unique things in this volume.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, I'd love to do more here is thoughts on the art. Carrie Nord.
Yeah, I really liked it, actually. The first issue was a little bit off, but it was like still good. Like it was different, but it was good different. Like I actually enjoyed it. It was a nice art style. I'm very happy that they didn't go through with it for the entire volume.
Well, they were kind of switching around a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the first, if you really look at like the first couple of pages in that first volume, it's very stylized. It looks very watercolor drawn, and it's very bright, and like not too many backgrounds. It was just all like white backgrounds and stuff like that. It's actually like beautifully drawn and painted, and it looks really good. But I think it would have become a little bit too. I don't know. I think I would have become tired of it if it would have been like this for the entire volume.
That was an interesting point, because let's see here. Where's the... Yeah, here we go, because then it's starting at issue 2. What's called the art duties are kind of shared between Carrie Nord and Vicente Cifuentes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also where I do notice like there's a change in like the art style.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it says specifically here that layouts are Carrie Nord and finishes are Vicente Cifuentes. So it's kind of like, it's a bit vague, I feel, because layouts can mean, well, not that it can mean a lot of things, but it depends on how much Carrie Nord was putting into it.
Yeah.
It definitely has a different look, like still has that kind of traditional feel. Like it's kind of like, as you said, kind of watercolor kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know.
No, but again, I really like it. I mean, again, as you can just look from like the first issue and then the second issue of this volume, the second issue has a lot more backgrounds. And I think that just kind of pulls it all together much better. And I feel more comfortable reading it. I mean, the first volume kind of felt like an art experiment, You're reading it. It's like when you watch an old movie that you don't really like, but it's one of those movies that you have to see as a filmmaker. You don't really enjoy it the same way you would like the newest Marvel movie or something like that. But you watch it and kind of like, yes, this is good. This is like artistic. This is meaningful.
No, but
I felt that way when I was reading the first volume, because it was so like the backgrounds were so white and it felt very minimalistic. It felt very, because it was good for this kind of character-driven issue where it was just literally between these two characters fighting for who's the leader of these Visigoths now. I really liked that it was the art style complemented the story in that sense.
I agree with you, but like kind of looking at it again now, especially the first page, again, yes, thinking, because again, it's one of those things where we read Unity Volume 1, so we know the context of this page. But looking at it here, I'm like, I don't know where they are. Like there's
the
these...
MI6 building. They're in the MI6 building. It says it so on the...
No, it's... Oh, sorry, caption. Yeah, sorry, not... Okay, no, sorry, not the first page. I forget that that's the second page with where it says challenges. Like it says Bucharest, Romania.
Yeah.
But the actual like environment is like, okay, I'm seeing some bars, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like very, like, there's no real establishing.
Nope.
So like, we don't know exactly where they're situated at this point. So is this inside the ship, or has Auric made like a makeshift prison somewhere else. I'm just kind of scrolling through here trying to see if there is anything. But yeah, no, we just see him kind of, I mean, he's literally isolated. I'm looking when Ninjak's escaping. And it's just kind of like, yeah, he's in this dark area with bars.
Right.
And then, you know, he's wherever they're supposed to be later on the ship. Again, not like a big slight against Carrie Nord or anything, but I don't feel it works on its own. Like, it works for us because we know context from other material. But it can't stand on its own, I feel, as like telling this full story.
Right, which is why I think we should start reading it issue for issue if we have like crossover like this again.
All right.
Because again, you know, this is the thing, because when we can think like, okay, well, now he's in that area where we know he is, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, if this was from, if this was actually set up so that at the end of issue 1 from Unity, Ninjak was just captured, and then we go to this issue, no problem, and we know exactly where he is. If this was like in one volume, we wouldn't be having this discussion about where is he, or is this confusing or not.
No, you're right about that. And I was just now out of curiosity checking through the what's called the like black and white pages, and it's very clear then that they they changed their workflow, because for the first issue, it's basically they must have painted traditionally, because that's all they have there. They don't have like the prior versions. But then on the second issue, so they're showing what's called that it's just typical kind of inking.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's how Vicente was like brought in there to kind of speed it up, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, again, I just thought it would be nice talking about the art as well. So, all right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I guess not.
So, yes.
Yeah, no, I just want to remind everyone that, you know, make sure to check back with us. I guess, should we just say on Friday? This episode is going out on Thursday. So check out our pages where you get our podcast on Friday for a special bonus episode where we delve a little bit into the 90s version of the Valiant universe, which we're going to record right now. And yeah, hopefully it will be a good one. A little bonus episode, just a couple of minutes, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. We'll see how far we go, how much we have to talk about it.
All right, great. Well, that was the 24th episode of Hardcast, detailing Exo Manowar Volume 5. For more content from me and Chris, follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Aram and at Christian D. Claus. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or listen to us directly on valianthardcast.podbean.com. Remember to like us on facebook.com/valianthardcast. Catch us later for our next